Welcome everybody to this session, Introduction to Linux. So this session will be divided into two parts. First, I'll tell you something like what is Linux about, and introduction, a little bit who created Linux, a bit of background, what is it all about, and next we'll discuss some, like I'll tell you how to install it and everything, and then some basic commands and everything. Alright, so let's begin. So Linux is basically derived from Unix operating system. So any of you like to get a normal idea of how much you guys are? Alright, two people. So most of you are beginners. Okay, we'll start with that. So Linux was basically derived for Unix OS, which is like a common ancestor of both Linux and Mac OS. So they basically both have the same internal architecture. So Unix was created by Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson. These are the same people that created C programming language, and in 1960 they created this. So Unix is basically the main appeal. Before that was like it operating system used to be like a single user, and like operating system, like they didn't run many applications before this. Like a specific operating system would be designed to run a particular application. So this was a different approach to operating system. Like they were like multitasking, multi-user computer operating system, and this was developed by like a group of AT&T employees at Bell Labs. So they both had POSIX compliant, which is like a networking system, and they 60. The fun fact about this is like Linux was never aimed to be good at like networking and architecture and or running servers or anything like that, but 64% of the world's server run on some variant of Unix or Linux. And as you are must be aware, like Android phone and Kindle also like run on Linux, so it like 90% of the world's phone are on Linux right now. So who developed this? So initially, like this guy Linus Torvalds, it was like his personal project, which is initially like it was open source, and he created like a GNU. It is a GNU is like a recursive name. GNU is not Unix. You must have learned this in college. So like Dennis Richard Stallman, which was like he was like a he's a great advocate for like free software, and he was also promoting like all software should have their like code base free and open for studying, so that people can contribute to it and people can actually know like what exists in those softwares. And Linus Torvalds at that time was telling his building his personal project, and he was like he's a Finnish student at that time. In 91 he created like a free operating system, which is like not to like discredit him, but it was like a clone of Unix. So he created that, and like new free operating system kernel, and resulting Linux kernel has been like it is the biggest open source project that has like being continued till this date, and by the original author Linus Torvalds. Till this date, reviews, commits, and over like GitHub, and he maintains all those repositories even to this date. So which is awesome in a way. So now you must have heard about like Linux distros. So there are two things. Like there is a Linux kernel. Kernel is basically like the main engine. So kernel is basically the main engine that Linux operating system runs on, and distros are basically a way of like different UIs on top of that system. Not necessarily just UIs. There are also like other features. So basically, each distro is like basically a pathway to another, like a specific operating system created for a specific purpose. So some beginners, like Ubuntu is like the most famous operating distro right now, and Linux Mint is also good. If you are coming from Windows, then it will provide a lot of familiarity. If you are like having been using Linux for a long time, then like Arch Linux or anything that would suit you. So like anybody can make their own distro on top of Linux kernel. It's just like it's GUI, different GUI, and a lot of like specifically targeted features. Some of you have must have heard the word like Kali Linux. It has like a lot of hacking application, cybersecurity features. So they created a different distro for that purpose. All right. So why should you care about Linux? So like I told earlier, like excellent networking facilities, ideal environment to run servers such as a web server or like a file transfer server. A wide variety of like commercial software is available, if not like on Linux, if you are not satisfied the free software, and it is easily upgradable because like all the source code is available on Linux kernel. So if your company is, suppose if you're a startup and you want to use some of your own features, and suppose like if you try to do it like my whole company is going to use Windows from now, right? So if you are, all of your companies is using Windows, and Windows suddenly decides like this XYZ feature is not going to be in Windows from this day forward onwards, so you cannot do like anything about it because it's like Microsoft's choice, because they have the closed source to Windows operating system. In Linux it's not like that. Suppose if you uh, I want to use some XYZ feature and Linux is like we are not going to continue developing this feature, you can just take that code and develop that feature on your own. You can give it to your team or anything. So it's like provides a great like flexibility in that way. It is like supports multiple processors, and it's like multitasking in a true sense. Windows system is also good, like it has a tree like that I'll discuss later, like its file structure system. Full source code, as I said, is provided, and most development tools you will find have free alternatives on Linux. Like if you want to do like anything from 3D animation to like uh, Arc Linux coding or something like that, there is always a free Linux alternative. Like if not for all of them, but for like 90% of the things, there is a free Linux alternative. So it saves you a lot of money. Like personally, I think I have saved like, if not less than like 50,000 rupees by using Linux, because I didn't use any of like JetBrains or anything. I can use Vim and all those things, and it has saved me a lot of money. So next thing is, yeah, so basic architecture of Linux. Like I'm telling these are just for knowledge. Like you don't actually need to know these things to in order to use Linux. But since you guys are not just a user, you are like upcoming developers and engineers, so you should basically know a little bit of these things, right? So like as I told, like in the like each computer has hardware. For that for talking to or communicating to that hardware, you need a kernel. A kernel is basically what you call as like a, it tells command. It basically converts like your higher level commands into machine code, and then it tells like hardware what thing it should do and which thing it should not do. So it does things like memory management, task scheduling, file management, all these basic things that need to be done in order to make a computer work is done by the kernel. Then you have the shell. So shell is basically a utility that will process your requests. For example, if you tell like I want to list all these files in this directory, then there will be like a shell command to ls to do that. So shell is basically like your terminal. It is the equivalent of you have seen a command prompt in Windows, right? Or if you're using Mac OS, then you have essentially used Linux. So command prompt is like very similar to terminal in Linux, which is essentially like a shell. So you tell your you type your commands in shell, and then it calls the kernel to schedule that command. It executes it, and then it gets executed, right? So there are different types of shell. You don't need to really know that right now. If you want to get into like a very like Linux development or kernel development or things like that, then you should like there's she shell, there's bone shell, corn shell, which are like main famous versions of Unix. Right. So then there are commands and utilities that basically various commands and utilities which you would use like in your day-to-day activities like copy, move, list, or anything like of these short commands. Like there are 250 standards command plus if you can install any other third-party library and they also have their commands. So like you can do anything with terminal in essentially. And then files and directories are like simple files and directories, as you know. So let's move on to next. Yeah, Linux installation. So I would need like a poll right now, like how many of you have installed Linux and how many of you have to yet install. Yeah, can you raise your hands, people who have installed Linux? All right. So okay, 5 people, 5 people have installed it. All right, cool. So I'll share like I'm sharing presentation right now. I'll share my whole screen and like walk you through the process of this, how to install Linux basically. 1 second. Is my screen visible? Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So what you do is basically in essentially you can install any of the distros, but since you're a beginner I would recommend you to install Ubuntu, right? So you go to Ubuntu and you go to their website and you go to downloads. Now like depending on your system, like if you have a good system, 4 GB above RAM and like seventh generation above processor, then you can install the latest Ubuntu. Okay, if you don't have like a very latest system, then you can also install like a previous version, right? So yeah, so always you install the LTS version because all the packages and applications that you will be installing after this will be on the LTS version. Okay, so like it is long term support, so it will give you like 4 years of support, 5 years of support actually, as they have mentioned like till April 2025. So if you are like developing any application, so you don't have to worry about like you have anything or like your applications is outdated or anything like that. If you are like want to try out latest features, then you can also install Ubuntu 21.10, and you can basically they have the latest features and everything. Alternative downloads also, like you can 18.06 is like so there are two types of versions. There's going to be a desktop version and there's going to be a server version. So install the. I hope like all of you are beginners. So install the desktop version, download the desktop version, and it will give you a torrent link. Either you can download by torrent, or you can download like directly from here. Just click on download, and it will. it will start the ISO downloading file. So I don't really want to download this, but yeah, you can save from here. Okay. Now, if you are on Windows, then there's a tool called Rufus. All this tool, download this, and this tool will install on your Windows, right? Basically, plug in your any of portable media like pen drive, or if you have a CD. I don't think anyone use CD now, but like if you have a pen drive, just plug it in, select your pen drive, and select the ISO file that was downloaded from here, and just start this. Okay. File system, change it to like xfat. Don't change to FAT32. FAT32 is actually fine. So change keep everything at default. BIOS or UEFI target system is also good. Just select the ISO file over here and start to burn that pen drive. So what will happen is you will create a bootable pen drive. So now what happen is you will plug in your pen drive and restart your computer. So restart when you're restarting your computer, go into like boot selection menu. So it will look something like in if you are in Dell computer or cases, I think most of you will have Dell or HP advanced boot options in Dell. So I think yeah, if you tap F2 function key rapidly, then you will go to like a menu like this, advanced boot options. Yeah. So here it will ask like if you want to boot from pen drive, and you select yes. You have to boot from pen drive. Okay. I don't think it's giving. Yeah. So yeah, also like some of your laptops, this secure boot will be enabled. Disable this, otherwise you won't be able to like install the like you won't be able to dual boot the system. I'll send you a YouTube video explaining like all of this step by step. So if you have to rewatch it, you can do that. So disable the secure boot in your system so that you can install the GNU Grub, and then what you will do is like a menu like this will be appear like whi- which mode you want to boot from, and you can do like change boot mode settings and boot from pen drive. And when you boot from pen drive, Ubuntu will automatically open, and there will be like an installation choice. So Ubuntu installation, I'll show you which kind of menu will come. Yeah, so this kind of menu will come. Like you can either try Ubuntu without installing or install Ubuntu. Then you just do next, next, next. The important thing is there are two ways. Like you can only install Ubuntu, or if you want to dual boot. If you want to dual boot, then clear out a drive. Like if you're like D drive, clear it out, and you have to like actually keep that drive empty, like delete that drive from Windows. So Windows should not be able to access that drive if you want to like dual boot your system. I think I cannot explain it right now because like I won't be able to stream, but I'll send you a video explaining like detailed instructions of how to do that exactly, like deleting a drive, clearing it out. And if you have like any problems, then you can ask me on Discord or anything, and I'll explain you that. Right now, for the sake of this session, I'll continue. Right. So yeah, after installing Ubuntu, it's like just normal. You create your ID, password, and everything like that. I'll send you a video on how to do that exactly. Your dual boot system. If you want to completely install Ubuntu, then that's the best. Right? Why use Windows? Anyways, yeah. So I'll share the PPT again. So is the presentation visible now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Alright. So after installation, let's move on to the commands. Actually, I'm sharing the entire screen. 1 second. So basically, there are these are like your shell commands, and I would like let's keep this session interactive. So there are online Linux term like online. This is ads. Yeah. So right now I don't think it will. So if anyone has Linux right now, they can follow these commands, and I will show you basically how to uh, follow these everything. I'll show you a small demo. Alright. So these are basic commands. Like man is for manual. So in when you are in Linux, you have installed. You just do Control Alt T, and you'll have a terminal appear. Okay. So I'll just increase the font size. Right. So man is for like telling which command it is you want to run, right? And like manual of that command. RM is for deleting. RM is short for remove. PWD is for present work directory. If you want to know which directory you are already in, and then touch is for creating something, creating a file. CD ls commands for changing into a directory or listing the contents of a directory. Cat command is for like printing the contents of a file. Then mkdir is for making a directory. Copy is just copy. Move is move. And rmdir is for removing a particular directory. So man here stands for manual. So if you want to if I don't know any command, like if I don't want to know the manual of pwd command, here comes like it will tell you everything about that command. So pwd means print name of current working directory, and you can do like pwd and you can also give like a directory name of each one you want to do it, right? So you can just queue and you've quit. So now I'll do pwd, and it will tell me like I'm in home slash Gurname, right? So before this, I think I should explain the file structure, right? So Linux file structure is like a tree. Uh, file structure. So we'll take one image. Yeah, this explains it the best. So it is as you can see this image, it is like a tree, right? So there's going to be this directory, which is the root directory. Directory is just another name for folder, right? So this is the root folder or directory. Then it will have all these folders, and then it will have all these folders. So this is how like Linux is shaped like a tree. You can do these are like basically roots of a tree, right? So you always start from root, which is slash simple, and then you go to bin, dev, etc. home. Yeah, like all the users live inside the home, right? So if you have like 5 users, then there are going to be 5 directories in home for each of that user. Okay. So yeah. So like you can see when I did pwd command, it shows me like I'm in slash home slash kunami, which is like my name, my user. Okay, now let's go back. Yeah, somebody has a doubt. Yes, Rishabh, do you have a doubt? All right, I think he did it by mistake. Anyway, let's continue. So like you can like this is, yeah, this is the Windows file system hierarchy. Like you can, so everything is parallel over here. There's a C drive, D drive, E drive. Then they all have different folders inside those drive. And this is the file system hierarchy of Linux. Everything is like in shape of a tree. Right? There's a root from where you start. So actually having this type of structure gives a lot of advantages in Linux because you're able to search files very easily, right? In Windows, if you do a search, it's going to take you like, if you don't have a good enough system, it's like way, because they create a search index, and then it's a very bad way that Windows is implemented, like the file search in Windows. In Linux, like you will later on learn, like in data structure and algorithms, like it is easier to search in a tree than like a parallel system. So it is very easier to search in over here, right? Search files in a Linux system. So PWD, as we had seen earlier, it tells us like we the current directory which I am in. So then CD stands for changing a directory. It basically changes from current directory to a specified directory. So if I can like go to CD downloads, and also you can use tab to autocomplete. There's autocomplete in Linux. Okay. So you can do CD downloads, and now I'm in downloads. Now I will do PWD, and it will show me I'm in downloads slash home slash kernel slash download. The text is visible, right? Or should I make it a bit more bigger? All right. Now let's move to the next command. Next is ls. So ls basically stands for list selection. So it lists the contents of a directory. Like if you are in downloads and you want to list the commands, then you should do like ls, and it will like list all my command, all the files that are present in my downloads. Okay, a lot of files. Actually, I need to clear some. Now you're going to use the clear command. Like if you like a lot of commands have been written, you can just clear, and it will clear the terminal for you. Second thing that comes in handy is you can use the upward arrow to do the last command. Okay, you can use the upward arrow to like um, go to the last command. Like last I used clear, so I can do one upward arrow and it will go. Second to last I did ls, so I can do that. So it comes in very handy. You don't have to type the last command again and again. Second thing is mkdir. So you can make a directory in Linux using mkdir. So there are two. I'll show you a demo. Like let me go to home first. Alright, so I'll make a directory named PClub. Right now, I'll go into PClub using cd PClub. Okay, so I'm in. Let's check the directory now. I'm in PClub directory. Now, sometimes I want to create a directory, but it has to be like inside another directory, right? So one way you can do is create the initial directory, then go inside that directory, then create another directory. Or you can do it, another thing is mkdir, use a hyphen p. This is for parent, so it will create all the necessary parent directories you need for that directory. So you will do I will do suppose test, dot slash. Dot slash means the current directory. In this current directory, I want to create a test directory. Inside the test directory, I want to create a test one directory. Okay, so I will do this, and now I'll do ls. So it tells me that there's a test directory. I'll go inside this test directory and do again ls. It tells me there's a test one directory. Now I'll go inside the test one directory, and now I do pwd. It tells me I'm in PClub /test test one. This is what I wanted to create. Test in test one inside test. I can do this easily. Now, in some case, you might forget like which command does what. So you just have to do like man mkdir, and it will tell you mkdir is for make directories, and it will tell you what does, like -p is for parents, no error if existing, makes parent directories as needed. V is for verbose, context, all these things if you need anything are available over here. You just have to do man and the name. Okay. Now next is removing a directory.
Sir, there was a doubt from Rishabh in chat.
Yes. Okay. What was it on? Okay. So my doubt was like, if there were 5 users, there would have been 5 folders. So I want to know whether 4 people while using the same system as files of. Yeah. So a good, very good question. So Rishabh, actually, what happens is when like you're in a server environment, right? So like right now it's my personal computer, but what if it's a development computer and 5 people want to use this computer, right? So what I can do is connect it to a LAN, and I can make 5 users, and for each that user I'll have different ID password, and those 5 people can use the system say at the same time. Second thing what happens is there are a lot of ways which you can use this. Is suppose I have a server application, suppose my machine is acting as a server, it is hosting my website, and also I have I'm hosting like a game, right? Suppose I am the owner of whatever, like Call of Duty or something, right? I'm owner of that, and I am also hosting the Call of Duty website, and I'm also hosting the server for that game. So what I will do is I'll create 2 users, one for the website and one for the game. So they will have like separate different environments, right? So one thing, suppose they both have same file named configuration.txt, right? Now, if I have different users, then those files, if I delete configuration from one users directory, then it won't affect from other user directory. And however, if I do it all in one user, then it becomes a bit cluttered, and you have to name, like, if there are different applications, then you need to use for 2 users. So there are different ways you can use this. So you can use, like, you can definitely make different users for different use cases. Like if you want your file, like if you want like a development user and you want a personal user, right? So you can make those two differently, and those 2 persons cannot interact with each other's files. I hope I cleared your doubt.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So next command is rmdir command. So this is short for remove directory. It removes an empty directory, and the thing is a directory should be empty. It will not remove the full directory. For that you will have to use the rm command, right? So yeah, another thing is about cd is you can go back by using double dot, right? So I will go to cd. I can do this, and I will go one directory previous. So I was in test one, which was inside test. Now I'm inside test. I can check it. Yes, I'm inside test. Now another thing, another cd shortcut is you can do cd and tilde, and it will go to the root, like the home directory. Okay, so I can do pwd now, and I'm in good number, which is my home directory. Now I can go to do this cd hyphen, and it will go to the last directory that I was working in. So it will go to slash test directory. Okay. Now let's use the rmdir command. Rmdir, we are going to delete the test1 folder, and it is deleted. Now we do ls, and there's nothing inside this. Okay. So basically that folder was deleted because it was empty. Now I will do one thing. I will make a file inside this. Actually, touch command is there, but I will do by GUI because most of you have been using GUI. So this is my home directory, right? My good that good name user, that home directory is this. Okay. So inside this we have PClub folder over here. Inside this we have test directory. Now I will create a new folder inside this. Let's name it test 2. Now I'll create a text file, and I'll do this simple hello PClub, and I'll save this inside this PClub, inside this test2 folder. So I have saved this file inside that. Okay, you see this file inside that. Now we'll do a ls, and there's a test2 folder over here. We'll change to test2 folder, and we do again ls. So there's an entitled document1. Okay, now what I will do is I'll go back and I'll try to delete this using rmdir. They see there's an error because it will not allow me to delete this folder because the directory is not empty. This only rmdir commands only deletes directories if they are empty. Okay. Now let's go to another. This commands, it will help you delete any file, any folder if it's empty or if it's not empty. Okay. So like if this is not empty, all I have to do is first I'll suppose I do not know what I have to do. So I'll do man rm. Okay. Now this will tell me if I do a hyphen f, then it will ignore non-existent file and never prompt. Okay. If I do hyphen r, then it will remove directories and their contents recursively. So what this means is if I do a rm hyphen r, then it will do remove all the contents inside the directory also. That is what I want. So I will do rm hyphen r, and I will do test. Now I do ls. There's nothing in there, and that test2 directory is deleted. You can also check it in File Explorer, and this is PClub folder, and inside this folder is empty. Okay. So this is it. Now we have a touch command. Touch command basically allows you to create folders from the terminal itself. You can create any file from the terminal. At this point, I think I should also tell you that extensions are a myth. Okay, extension doesn't mean anything. It's just for like applications to open those files. Every file is essentially a binary, so you can create any file with any extension over here. So I'll create a new directory. We'll name this test3, and I'll change to test3. I'll do a git clear. Okay, and now I have to do touch command. I'll create, suppose I'll create a C++ file. Okay, so I'll create pclub.cpp. Okay, now I'll go ls, and we have a C++ file inside it. Now I can open this file with in the terminal. So there are two types of text editors. One is like your VS Code, which is a separate application, and one is like Vim. Vim is a in terminal, uh, basically text editor. So if I do like Vim pclub.cpp, then this file has opened inside it itself. Okay, inside the terminal itself. Now Vim has its own commands, which I don't think like I should tell right now, but like Q is for quitting. So that's the simplest command. So you can use Vim, but I think most of you are comfortable with like something like VS Code. So if you install it, there's a simple like, command code. It will open VS Code and see this command VS Code reads it as a C++ file. Okay, so we can then further like write our code in it, compile it. I'll show a demo later on how to compile using terminal. Okay. CP is if you copy, if you need to copy a file from directory 1 to directory 2. Let's do it. Okay, so we'll go a folder back and we'll create a new directory test 4. Now I want to copy pclub.cpp to test 4. So what I'll do is copy dot slash means that in this current directory I want to copy test3 slash pclub.cpp to this folder test4. It has copied that. Now let's go inside test4 and ls and we have pclub.cpp file in this. Okay. There's also another ways you can copy things, like if I want to copy the entire test folder inside test4, then I can also use recursive. Like if I want to copy a single file, then I can use this command like I've used earlier. Or if I want to copy an entire folder with its contents in it, then I can do a simple like uh, R recursively like we did in rm. So cp hyphen r. Suppose I want to copy this test3 directory in test4. So now I'll do to test4 and h2ls. So see the test3 entire folder is copied into this. I'll go inside test3 and we'll do ls, and that pclub.cpp file is also copied. So this is a way you can do things. I'll clear it. It's getting a bit cluttered. Go back. Now let's go. What's the next command? Move is move a directory. It's like copy. It's similar to copy. Like it's just like you move a copy or you move it. Similar like move is like you move from one location to other. In copy you copy. So you guys know that, I think. Then cat is basically list contents of any file. So what we'll do is we'll write some code in this. Hashtag include stdio. Hashtag include stream. I think yeah, this would work. We don't need stdio. And I'll write a function for actually I have Copilot, so I'll let Copilot write this for me. Yeah, Copilot has written this function. All right. See, Copilot makes you. It's a bit scary, but also fun. I did this in like 10 seconds with Copilot. Right. So this file is now saved. So suppose I want to. This is in test 3. I should probably delete test 4 because it will get a bit confusing. All right. So now let's go into test. Let's cat the file. So cat test3 slash cvp and see all the text in this file is over here. Is good, right? All right. Now let's come to the next one, which is the next command. Yeah. So a few more commands. So ps aux, it tells you like the processes in this. So like you have processes running inside your computer. It's like basically task manager inside, like you have task manager in Windows. So in that you should know like ps process, right? So I'll show you a short demo. Like first let me show you the GUI so it will be easier for you to like contemplate. So like this, right? So this is my code is initially like VS code. It's short, so it is this process, right? So its process ID is 28705, right? So I will do a ps talks and it will list all the processes for me that are running. Actually this looks a bit cluttered because you know there's a lot of processes that go into running. Yeah. So like this is like system monitor, then this is the processes for VS Code, and this is Chrome processes, and this is library processes, some like tracker, uh, all these processes like they are essential for this. But suppose I want to kill a process. These are processes IDs, by the way, right? So I'll do once again ps. This lists all the processes. Right. So if I want to know like which was the code process, I think there's a lot of them, so it's not getting listed. But suppose I have Postgres running and I want to kill that. Right. So I earlier we saw in like system monitor, like my VS code process ID was 28705. Suppose I want to kill this process, and I will simply do kill 28705, and it has killed that process. You can see is still running. Yeah, extension was terminated unexpectedly. Right. Okay, and you can see that. Now if you want to know details about the process, then you can do grep. If you want to like search anything inside this, you can use grep command, which is like basically uh, finding like which things exist. So I'll show you a basic grep command. What should I search? So grep basically can look for your anything. One second. Anything inside a file, inside a file or folder, anything, right? So we are in this test folder, right? So let's go into, first let me clear this, and let's go into the test 3. I think it was 3, right? Yeah, test 3. And let's grep the pclub.cpp file. So we'll grab the, what do we want to search in it? Suppose I want to search for hello. We have hello in that file. And in which file? Pclub.cpp. So it will give me like, hey, look, on this line you have hello in it. Suppose I want to search something else. I want to see how many times I is coming in this file. So it will tell me like I is in include iostream function. I write the spelling wrong. I wrote it void hello int main. So yeah, it's basically telling me how many times I came in the file. So I can do like a file. Also, I can do like in an entire folder. I can search, since there is no like file names I, so it is not going to return that. But like similarly, I can also search like processes and everything like that. So it's a very useful command. It will tell you. Now the next command is who am I. It will tell you who the user is. So it's telling me this is the username. And next is where is. So suppose I want to know where is my Python installed. So where is Python 3? Okay, so it will telling me like you have Python 3 installed in this, you have Python 3.8 installed in this folder, you have in this folder. Alright, so it will list all these things for me. Let's do a more specific search. That's Python 3.9. Okay, a lot of, I have multiple installations. Let's do something else. So let's see where is Anaconda. Anaconda is not installed. That's why it's showing this. But we can also do, like suppose I have, what do I have installed? Yeah, we have Chrome, right? We have VS Code. So let's see VS Code. So it's telling me like in Snap folder, I have VS Code. Alright, I think that was, it's been almost an hour. So echo is command for yeah. Now I think echo command is bit simple. Like it will just, if you create, you can create. This is basically bash is like the language, right? So I can create variables inside it. Okay, so I can create a variable that will be valid for only this session. So I can so basically what I'm saying is like this, as soon as I close this terminal and that variable is not saved in any configuration file, it will not exist. So let me create a variable. Suppose I'll create a variable x y z is equal to, I'll give it a value of something. I'll give it a string, right? So sorry, you have to do a dollar sign before. Sorry. Uh, yeah, sorry. Here is it. Thank you for this. Okay, Rick. Thanks. So yeah, so XYZ, I have created this variable. Now I can echo this variable. Echo dollar. If I want to call the variable, then I should use a dollar sign. It will return the value that variable. There, like in a session, you have variables also. There's a variable called path variable that will hold all the paths that are in this session. So this is a path variable. There's a library variable. There are all types of variables in a session. So if you want to store a variable permanently, then you have to do it in a bash rc file. I think that will be a bit advanced for this session. So we'll just conclude this. So we'll compile C++ from terminal. So syntax is gcc, and we have to just write the file name, and it will be compiled. So in this we'll write gcc, and we have what, pclub.cpp. It's giving some error. Should have really. Hmm, why is it happening? Oh, sorry. I'm using a C compiler. Yeah, so this file is compiled. It's like a dot out its name. I can also compile it I can give a hyphen o, and I can say like output. I'll do it. So output. Sorry, it should be dot out. Now, and for running this file, I'll just simply have to do dot dot slash. This as soon as I run this binary file, you can see hello world got printed. Let's do something else. We'll change something over here. We'll say thanks for coming, everyone. We'll compile this again. Oh, now let's run this final dot out. And thanks for coming, everyone. That's got printed. Is nice. So, what are packages in Linux system? Packages are basically third-party packages that, like, basically applications that you install. They can be a GNU, like there could be GUI or non-GUI. I think that would be covered tomorrow, like Rick and Ashwini. They will cover all these things tomorrow. I think for now we have done over 1 hour. So if you have any doubts, I would take them right now. I will stop presenting. Any doubts, anyone?
So, like, I have a doubt. Right now, I am like dual booting my PC, like Windows 10 and Ubuntu.
Okay.
So, if I want to increase the space of my Ubuntu, like Ubuntu side partition, can I do that like without installing everything?
Oh, that's a tricky step. Actually, I did that. It worked for me. So what you have to do is Essentially you'll have to create a installable bootable drive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, you create that installable bootable drive and you boot into that system. Okay, then you install when you don't boot into like your Ubuntu, boot into Ubuntu of that installable bootable drive. Okay,
Okay, okay. Right, I got
then
it.
from command prompt install this application called gparted. Okay, so in gparted you will have like it will show the partitions of here, right? So what you want to do, what should essentially be like, suppose this is my Linux partition and this is like other data partition. So if I want to include this data partition into my Linux partition, it should be alongside it, it should not be like different, right? You cannot merge this and this partition, you can only merge like two consecutive partitions. Okay, so you have to be like, if when you're in Windows, when you are deleting your drive and creating empty space for Linux, then you have to like be wary of this. Okay, so create a parallel like synchronous partition. Okay, and then you merge it from here. Okay, there will be a merging option, like you can go over here and give resize and include this space into that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's like it's risky, so if you have, do take a backup before doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anybody else?
And like I have another doubt. So actually, previously, like 2 months ago, I was using Windows only, so I
Okay.
haven't dual booted at that time. So I was interested in Linux because like I was intrigued by the command prompt, like how everything runs from the command prompt.
Okay.
But like in the past 2 months, I haven't seen myself using the command prompt that much. That much. I've been like preferencing the mouse over the command prompt. So what should be like the practices that I should do so that I can get like more familiar, more comfortable with the command prompt rather than the mouse.
Yeah, so like it's like personal preference initially, but what happens is, if you are working in a like a setting where you have to maintain some servers, or you have to like uh, you're working on a remote machine. Okay, so like recently I was working somewhere and that person did not, it was like a headless server. So headless server is essentially like there's no GUI, there's only terminal. Okay, and a lot of servers are like that. So when you're working that type of setting, then you have to learn terminal, so that way things come in handy. Plus GUI, like if you I have like 10,000 files, right? So I work like my domain of choice is like data science. So if I have like 10,000 files and want to rename them, okay, so if I do this by GUI, then it will take me like, it will consume like 8 GB of my RAM just to show me those icons of those 10,000 images. Okay,
I
I can so basically use terminal. I can write a bash script and it will be done in seconds. So that's like these are like essentially work. But like even I, like if I'm personally using my computer, then I don't really use terminal, like if I have to for work. But like if I'm browsing the internet or anything, then that doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Right, like, that makes sense.
all right, cool. What difference if I will I face if I use Ubuntu and VirtualBox? I have 16 GB. The thing is, you won't be able to use your graphics card. So if you're like, I have installed like in, if you have like an NVIDIA graphics card, then you won't be able to use that on your virtual machine. You have to install. You need a like real operating system in order to use that. In VirtualBox also, you, it will allow you to like allocate If you have 16 GB, it will allow you to allocate like maximum 12 GB, which is enough in a way. But like really depends on your processor. If since you'll be having recent processor, so like most things will not be lagging, but the main difference would be this: you won't be able to use your GPU, and if you're just using like terminal, then it's going to be fine. And also the other thing would be like all of your files would be stored in a like all of your things that you're doing inside Linux would be separated from your window other file systems. So what I can do right now in Linux is, I'll show you 1 second. S- since I have a is my screen visible? Since I have like a dual boot system, I can go into any file. I can go into my Windows OS and copy any file from there. If you are using a virtual box, it will be isolated, which is good for some things. Like if you are using cybersecurity and all that, then that is good. But really gives me like basically more space to access in Linux. Say, suppose if I want to just keep some files in Windows and access them in Linux, I can do that. So that's the thing. It has its pros and cons. So if you're using it for something like cybersecurity, then definitely use a VirtualBox. If you're using something like web development, then you don't really need to have Linux. If you're using something like AI, then dual boot it, or for like graphics creation or something like that, then dual boot it. I hope. Will dual booting Ubuntu with Windows 11 decrease the speed of my system? No, no, not really. It will use up like 1 GB of your RAM extra. Like it will decrease the space in your system because you'll have to give at least like 60 GB to Linux. Okay, well, was having problem with my legacy boot while installing dual boot. When I unselected, yeah, I got VSOD. When I selected Windows while booting, now install Kali on VMware. Okay, and it is it completely different from Ubuntu, like commands and all I'm using, and it's quite different from what GoToMeet.here. Okay, so the thing is, Kali Linux is like more cybersecurity based, but the basics Linux commands are not going to change. Like ls, cd, man, grep, all that's going to remain the same. It on top of like that kernel, it has a lot of cybersecurity applications like pen testing tools and all that, which is for a specific use case. So I won't really recommend like if you're not doing cybersecurity and using Kali Linux, then it doesn't make sense. But if you are interested in those things and do that, if you're that legacy boot issue is specific to some computers, I think HP or something like that. It's specific to those. So what you do is you turn your secure boot off and you change the boot order. So change the boot order to Linux first and then Ubuntu. So what will happen is a GNU grub screen will come and it will like help you select the operating system instead of directly booting trying to boot to Windows, because once you have Linux dual booted, then the grub screen should be the first thing that should come. It should not directly boot to Linux or to Windows. It should there will be a menu of selection like which operating system do you want to boot in. So if you're really stuck, then I think a fresh install would help. I have a Mac M1. Is Ubuntu right for? You don't need Ubuntu in Mac, dude. It's like terminal is same, so you don't need that. You're good. Like Mac is essentially has they both have the same kernel. So all these commands that I taught today are going to work in Mac terminal. People who have been using Mac, they like they don't need to. Like, and also in M1 you cannot dual boot. I think I don't know. It's ARM based, so. But in M1 you would have some problems. Like if you're doing AI stuff, then you'll have some problems because it's not completely. Like virtualization is not optimized yet. Yeah, but it's great for personal use, I think. Anyone else? I think it's 1 hour 15 minutes. Let's close the session now. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll upload this on YouTube if anyone missed it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.